مفهوم المخالفة ولا تفرقوا. If you are together, you will be less divisive. In other words, if we come together and we are with each other, the divisions and the type of like drama that oftentimes unfolds online or wherever in these spaces, they usually do so because we're not in proximity with each other. And that proximity is extremely important because it shows us also that there's more than just like the quantitative element that we think sort of stands within the engagement that I'm having with people. There's a qualitative dimension to us just being together physically like this.
When your communities are the same, their hands, like two hands are the same and they're aligned, they don't fit. They don't fit with each other. There has to be an adjustment. And communities fill each other's gaps. They fill the gap. And if you can't fill the gap, you can't be tightly with one another. And we all have a certain level of like nuqsan, deficiencies. We have a community of deficiencies. And I think one of the beautiful things about Islam itself is it celebrates those deficiencies through a process of healing. Through ibadah and dhikr and then suhbah. And like you said, like, Khatib al-Baghdadi said that when the Mufti of Mecca would come to Mecca, when they would send the Mufti from Baghdad to Mecca, they would actually, it was imperative that they spend 6 months with people. And they would speak with the elders, and they would speak with the orphans, and they would speak with the widows, and they would speak with the different tribes. And then he would wear his gown of a Mufti. Because now he understands people's sensitivities. He understands what type of fatwa to give people.
And then finally, like right around the end of that year, I came to see these gatherings in a way that was just like, I really loved it. And I really loved what they talked about. And I really loved being around them. But I felt like kind of a phony. Like, what am I doing here? I don't really belong here. And so I came to one of them and I told them, listen, I really appreciate everything that you've done for me. The fact that I'm here and the gatherings that you all have, this is so beautiful. But I gotta be honest with you. Like, I'm really not one of you guys. I wanna be like that. Like, I really wanna be like you. But I have a past, and that's not me. And I remember him saying, don't worry about all that. Just keep coming. Just keep coming. And what motivated that? It was love. It was love. And it may take on a form that is very like Egyptian in its orientation, but it was love that permeated him to be able to say the things that he said to me and to keep me around. Fast forward, 2015, we opened up our space in Southern California. And now I'm teaching, and I'm in front of people doing almost exactly what was done to me. And after about 3-4 weeks of a course that we were doing, a guy gets up in the gathering after class and he comes to me, he's like, can I talk to you about something? I said, sure. I said, listen, I gotta be honest with you. These gatherings, I love these gatherings. I couldn't believe it. It's like, and what you guys talk about and how you guys are and the way you walk and talk and the whole thing, I love it. I really love it. But I'm really not like you guys. And I really want to be like you guys. Every time I talk about this story, I can't hold it. Because that's what this tradition looks like, generation after generation after generation. People that found themselves in these gatherings, and they really loved it. And the people that loved them enough to continue to bring them here and to tell them, don't worry about all that. Don't worry about your past. Don't worry about the mistakes. We got you. We got you. Just keep coming here. Just keep coming. And eventually that transformation that occurs becomes something then that you continue to give. And honestly, the transformational element of this deen has been fundamentally that. What does it look like in the United States of America? That's something that we have to collectively come together on and decide. What is that going to look like? But I know for a fact that it is going to be underpinned by love. It is going to be the very thing that allows for this tradition, generation after generation, to affect the hearts of the Muslims. And that is when you are loved and you recognize that, particularly from an embodied tradition, it will always be something that carries you. It will always be something that carries me. Where people, Al-Hasan al-Basri is a famous story of one of the great scholars of the early period, Hasan al-Basri. Somebody, didn't really like him all that much. And so he talked ill about him all the time behind his back. All the time. And so Hasan al-Basri decided that, you know what? I'm going to give this person nasiha. Now look at what the nasiha looks like. He went around town, got a beautiful plate, and then went and purchased all of the most beautiful fruit that he could purchase, and he put it on this plate. Like how we have these fruit baskets here? Kind of like that, think of that version. So he puts together this beautiful plate of fruit, and he brings it to the man. And he tells him, listen, Assalamu alaikum. I just, I know that, you've been doing a lot for me, and so I just wanted to give you this plate as kind of, it's very little, but I just wanted to give you something as kind of like a token of my appreciation of it. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't like you, why would you do this? He said, no, I know. You talk about me like this constantly behind my back. And ultimately, all of the deeds that you do, your fasting, your prayer, your charity, all of it, is now something that I'm inheriting as a result of you constantly talking about me behind my back. So I thought the least that I can do, based on the fact that you give me all these things, is give you this plate of fruit. Think about the amount of time that he spent and consideration to do something like this for somebody who's talking smack about him behind his back. This man reforms completely and he becomes one of the most dedicated students of Hasan al-Basri. That's what nasiha looks like. This idea of ta'am and doing it in a way where you know that this is out of care and love for you. Even the people that may not like us all that much. But because that's all we have to give. They said about Zayn al-Abidin, somebody would constantly talk about him and Ahlul Bayt in Medina. And so he, every time that he would see this man, he'd say something nice to him. And the man finally, after a while, was like, why do you keep saying nice things to me? I keep talking about, I don't like you. And he said, Al-Jud bil-Mawjud. Al-Jud bil-Mawjud. Generosity emerges from what a person has to give. For me and my family and the tradition that I come from, all we have to give is love. And you have what you have, and you're giving that. It's said that Shaykh Abdul Qadir was with his disciples and they're walking and they see this man who's like a drunkard in the street, completely obliterated drunk. And they see him and they're about to walk by him and the man looks over at them and he says to Shaykh Abdul Qadir, Ya Abdul Qadir, Rabbaka Qadir am la Qadir? Is your Lord Qadir, in other words, powerful, capable, able? Or is he not powerful? And so Shaykh Abdul Qadir said, Qadir, he's capable, he has power. Then he asked him again, Ya Shaykh Abdul Qadir, Rabbaka Qadir am la Qadir? And again Shaykh Abdul Qadir said, no, he's Qadir, he's powerful, yes, he's powerful. And the third time, Rabbaka Qadir am la Qadir? And at this, Shaykh Abdul Qadir falls down to the ground, begins to cry profusely, and says, Qadir. And he looks over at his disciples and he tells his disciples, take this man, bring him back to our zawiyah, bring him back to our place, give him a shower, give him clothes, feed him, take care of him, bring him with us, keep him with us. And so they do so, and afterwards they ask the Shaykh, what happened? What was that all about? He kept asking you, is your Lord powerful? What does that mean? He said, the first time that he asked me, is your Lord powerful or not powerful? And I said, he's powerful. He was actually asking me, is your Lord able to accept my repentance? And he said, yes. And then the second question he asked was, Rabbaka Qadir am la Qadir, i.e., is your Lord capable of making me, a drunkard in the street, like you, this really, really pious man walking in the street? And so I said, yes. He's capable of doing that. And the third time that he asked me and I broke down crying, he was asking me, is your Lord able to make somebody like you be like me? And the reality is, yes. And that's why I broke down crying. الناس كلهم موتى. All of humanity is dead. إلا العالمون, except for the ones who have knowledge. And then he says, and the ones who have knowledge are niyam, they're sleeping. Except for the ones who do good deeds. And the ones who do good deeds are deceived. Except for those who are sincere. And those who are sincere are constantly struggling. You know, one narration he says, على خطر عظيم حتى الخاتم. You know, they're on a kind of like very dangerous road until the day that they die. That's actually the path right there in a nutshell. It begins with knowledge. You wake yourself up. You know, Imam al-Harawi, for example, as you talked about Madarij al-Salikin, the idea of yaqadha. I woke up to the reality of like, this life is more than the kind of material aspects of this. I have to do something. And you realize that. And once you do something about it. You learn. It's centered in ilm. There has to be knowledge. And our tradition is a tradition of knowledge. It's a tradition rooted in knowledge. We're the ummah of iqra. Read, recite. And from there, that knowledge, in order for it to be real and realized, it has to come with action. You have to do something with that. You're putting it forward. But even that action is insufficient. Because you constantly have to think about those things that I'm doing in as beautiful a way as I'm trying to do them. Are they for Allah or are they really for me? Am I sitting in this chair right now because I really like a bunch of people looking at me and say, I really like this? Is that why I'm here? Am I here in this very gathering, suffice it, whether in this chair or out of this chair, because I just want people to know that like I frequent these kinds of spaces, that I was here tonight? Or is it because I really do want to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?